Welcome back to the Hit Home Podcast. I'm Natalie Hashka, city girl turned entrepreneur who turned a big dream and a bold house flip into a thriving real estate brand, hitting my first six figures in my 20s. This is where we get raw and real, because life, entrepreneurship, and unapologetic womanhood deserve nothing less. I'm navigating life as a strong, independent woman who refuses to shrink, settle, or conform. And if that's you too, then you're in the right place. From personal growth and pop culture to behind the scenes real estate truths, no topic is off limits. I'm so glad you're here. Get ready for unfiltered stories, big laughs, and connections that will seriously hit home. Let's dive in. Hey guys. Okay, I'm back. I got my hair cut today and it's feeling really short. That's just a side note from today's episode. Avi, anybody else get their hair cut and it just feels like super short and you just have to like get used to it for a bit or whatever, or just like let it grow like a centimeter and then it feels like the right length? Anyways, we are gonna get into something a little controversial today, I think. And today's episode comes from really just like talking with all my girlfriends and having those deep conversations, like no superficial talk, right? And getting down to the down and dirty. And today we're going to be talking about like our partners, duties of a partner, sexual expectations, and like a vision for your relationship. And I think this comes from, I think it definitely comes from like my experience being single for so long and being in my 40s. And also all my friends. I've got a lot of single friends. I've got a lot of friends in unhappy relationships, unhappy marriages, trying to figure their shit out with their partners. And so I think there's going to be some stuff in here that's going to raise a brow. But the fact is, it is reality. And this is like the messy middle of like our life. So I think it needs to be discussed. And I know that we can't be the only ones going through this kind of stuff. So let's dive in here. Maybe let's start with like relationships in general. So, I've said it before that I was with someone for 15 years. He cheated. I left him. And then I was single for 7. And I didn't even start dating for a really long time. And I always said that if I met my ex-boyfriend now, he would not be the person that I would choose for myself. It's nothing against him. 19-year-old Nat was not thinking the same way 41-year-old Nat is thinking. I didn't have the same concerns. And I wasn't this person. Like fundamentally I was, but like I wasn't this version of myself until now. And I'm looking for different things in a man now than I was at 19. At 19, I was like, oh, he cute. He probably be good in bed. Let's just have fun. And then 15 years later, I'm with him still. And it was just supposed to be like someone I dated in my one summer when I was 19. And so I just think that we choose a little differently now for partners as we get older, or our second time around, or for some, maybe like our third time around. And so I think that oftentimes we have like a vision for ourselves. We have goals for ourselves. And we know what we want out of our lives. Well, at least most people do. It's taken me a really long time to learn what I want in my life. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like that girl that had like a 5-year plan until I didn't. Because I had these 5-year plans and then like I would check everything off the list. And I'd have my New Year's resolution list and do the same thing. And then I got to a certain age and the car accident happened and I had to fucking throw everything out the window. And I stopped doing these 5-year plans because I couldn't live for anything more than today. I had to be so present. But when I started dating, I noticed obviously like I'm not the kind of girl that's like, how's your day and how's the weather? It's so nice out. that's not me. So I'm having like these deep conversations with these men, and it seems like these men kind of know what they want for their lives. Like, I'm shocked at how many of them brought up marriage and kids to me. And I know that's sexist, but you'd think those would have come from like a woman, but they were coming from the men. And so I think we have these goals for ourselves, and we've got these long-term plans for ourselves, right? But then we get into these relationships, and then they've got goals for themselves and dreams and aspirations, and then you've got your set. And nowhere along the path do we sit down and assess, okay, if we stay together or if this works out, what are our goals as a couple in this relationship, and what's our vision for the relationship? And, you complicate things further when you add kids into the mix, because like the biggest complaint is that people get together, right? And I mean, society tells us you get together, you date, you get engaged, you get married, you buy the house, you do the honeymoon. You have a short amount of time together, and then you must get pregnant, and then you have a family and you start a family. And then it's time for the second kid, and so on. You know how the story goes. And then what happens is, like, when you do things according to what society has led us to believe is the right way, there's a very short amount of time that the couple is alone, and then the kids come along and the focus become the kids. And then these two people are just cohabitating, running parallel to one another. They lose sight of one another. And then the kids go off to school, and, these two people, usually a man and a woman, husband and wife, not always, but let's just say usually, look at each other and they're like, who the fuck are you? And what do we want? And then they're like dating each other and dating all over again, trying to get to know one another and build this new relationship as empty nesters, because all they've done is focus on kids for 18 years. So I think that we need to have a vision for our relationship and set goals together. And I think if more people approached relationships like this, like, maybe we'd have better chances of like longevity and less divorce if we were working towards like a shared interest or goal. And in my experience dating, and in my experience of a 15-year relationship, like, I would always say, like, hey, like, when we're in a fight, we're on the same fucking team, eh? Like, we're playing for the same team. We're not against each other here. Like, we don't need to fight. We're both in this together. And like, dangling your relationship in each other's face, like, I've never believed in threatening your relationship, like ending it or I'm gonna leave if. I think you need to be committed to the person. I think you need to know that like the hard shit is gonna come up, and as long as you're both committed to making it work and you both want to be in the relationship, then you're solid. But you can't dangle the relationship. Ready to make a move in the GTHA? Let's make it happen together. I'd love to help you find your perfect place. Not in the area, but still in Canada? No worries. I've got connections coast to coast. Send me a message and I'll point you in the right direction. And if you've been eyeing the things I share on Instagram, treat yourself. All the links to my Shop My page are waiting for you in the show notes below. Go take a peek and grab your faves. Happy shopping. So, today I just want to talk about the idea of like having like a relationship business plan with your partner and sitting down and having these hard conversations, but the hard conversations yield like to a level of intimacy and closeness that you cannot get to without having these hard conversations. So they're beneficial to all of us. And so many people I know are with people that they're not happy with. And I don't know if that stems because like they just wanted to get married or they just wanted to have the baby and get pregnant and they settled. They just settled for whomever or whatever so that they could get what they felt was going to fulfill them or what was going to make them happy in life. So, I think if we were to incorporate like a visualization exercise here, and this has definitely helped me as far as trying to figure out what I want in my life and what I need in a partner. And one of the biggest things for me dating, and I think that confused a lot of my friends, my mom understood this. She was like the only one who understood this, was that when I was dating, I wasn't looking for endgame. And everyone was like, all you do is attract fuckboys. And I was like, nah, I'm attracting exactly what I want right now. I'm not looking to be in something long term. I was with someone for 15 years and locked myself down. I am looking to date multiple people. I'm not saying I'm sleeping with multiple people. I said I'm dating multiple people. We kept the roster full. It was my responsibility to myself to date as many men as I could to learn about myself, to learn what I might want or need in a relationship, to be exposed to different personalities, to different love languages. And it was so beneficial to me to do that, so that when the right person came along and they wanted to be exclusive or committed and build on something, it would be easy for me to be like, yes, this aligns with me, and not question it in my 40s. So I think really visualizing what your ideal scenario looks like. So like if you were to close your eyes right now as you're listening to this, and let's just do this practice right now together. So close your eyes, and I want you to like clear the noise right now. What does your ideal partner look like? Is he tall? Typical dark, tall, and handsome? He's got broad shoulders. How does he dress? How does he walk? A walk is so important to me. I love the way a man walks and holds himself. But think about, like, what does he look like? And maybe you don't have an ideal, right? Like, maybe you don't have a type, what he looks like. Or maybe you like fit men because you work out. What qualities or traits or characteristics do they have? Like, what's important to you? Think about those things. Does he make you laugh? Does he make you feel beautiful? Is he the person that you can call no matter what happens in your day? But what about him? Just like fills your soul. And like, what does he do? Does he work with his hands? Is he white collar, blue collar? Does he work 9 to 5? Does he come home? Do you guys eat dinner together every night? Maybe you make dinner together every night, right? And what does your relationship look like with this and this said partner? Do you live together? Are you married? Do you have children? Do you guys have animals? What do you guys have in common? Is that something that's important to you? Shared interests? What do you do in your spare time together? Or do you even spend a lot of time together? Do you guys have date night? What do you do on your date night? Do you sit in, watch TV and snuggle? Or maybe you want to get dressed up and go out to like the newest hotspots. But what does that look like, that relationship? Do you love to travel? This is a big one for me. Finding somebody to be like my travel buddy, my travel partner, was huge. So I want you to sit there and think about what the person looks like. If you had to make, like a Bitmoji out of them. I had a client once that was a therapist, and she swore that the psyche of a man changed when the title of a woman changed. She said that in her clinical experience, that when a woman went from the title of a girlfriend to a wife, a man's expectations changed. I found that so interesting. I was so young. I was like in my mid-20s when she told me this. And, I think there could be some truth to this. Honestly, I really, really do. I do think expectations of both partners change when you go from boyfriend and girlfriend to husband and wife. And I'm not really sure if a man views a woman differently when she becomes his wife versus girlfriend. I've never been engaged. I've never been married. So I can't really even talk on experience in regards to that. But I will say that in the short amount of time I've been dating, I have definitely learned so much about myself. And that's the biggest takeaway of dating. And, I spent 15 years with the wrong person. I don't regret it at all. Sure, I should have left him probably halfway through when I fell out of in love with him. That I will say. But I don't want to make the same mistakes in my life now in my 40s. And life is so finite. It's really hard too when you have like a really fulfilling life. You love what you do. You've got good family and friends. You don't feel lonely or alone. You can financially take care of yourself. You find joy in the small things in life, You just naturally don't want to settle. So for all of you who are in situations that you're unhappy about, or if you're considering maybe getting out of a situation, out of a relationship, you're contemplating leaving your partner, maybe you're nervous, you're comfortable, and you're afraid of what's on the other side, I definitely would suggest like doing this visualization and see what aligns with yourself. And I wouldn't be afraid to ask the hard questions in your relationship and tackle those head on so that you can come out stronger and closer and more intimate in your relationship. And I really, really think it's important to have a vision and a goal and shared goals together and treat your relationship like a business and invest in it. The person that I'm currently dating right now, I had suggested to him probably like 2.5 months in that we should have a date night weekly. And this came after myself and my good friend were talking. And, she's like, you guys have crazy schedules. And I think you need a designated date night. And the idea of this date night never came from like going out. Our date night is on a Tuesday because that's what works best in our relationship. But it was to have like a commitment together. So it's in our calendar. And it's a commitment we make to ourselves and each other. It's something that is shared. Sometimes we do things. Sometimes we just like stay low key and make dinner at one of our places and catch up on conversation and watch a movie on the couch. And it's nothing more than just spending quality time together. But it's something we do together. And I think that is really important to continue to date throughout a relationship. Whether you're with someone for 6 months, 6 years, 16 years, I think it's really important to have a date night, to have a time you hold for just the two of you as adults, without kids, without any distractions or disruptions, no phones, and to connect and to talk about life. Like what's going on in your life? What's happening this week? What's going on with you? Maybe you can check in and say like, what do you need from me this week? What could I be doing better? What have I been doing well? What could I do better? And what do you need from me this week as a partner? Because those things are going to ebb and flow and they're going to change depending on what is happening in your lives. And that's something I'm learning in this relationship is like when he's going through things, it's different. It does affect our relationship. He's different. And then I'm different because I'm mirroring his energy as a fucking Aries. And when things are chaotic for me, I'm also different. Or when my migraines are bad and my concussive symptoms are bad with my post-concussive syndrome, I'm a different person. And so it's understanding one another too, Okay, so that's the first part of today's episode. Help us spread the love one home at a time. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and share the podcast. It means so much, and it might just make someone else's day. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you want to keep in touch, come say hi on Instagram at The Real Nat. Now we're getting into some other stuff, the meat and potatoes. So, again, talking with my girls and dating, there's like a lot of sex and sexcapades and bedroom talk coming up. And, I've dated a handful of men through that I met on Instagram, in real life, and then on Hinge. That was my choice of dating app when I tried it. And, I think that it's very clear that now more than ever, people have their kinks and paths are coming up. And I think people are very quickly jumping into sexual relationships and being intimate with people, being intimate with multiple people at once, which was new for me. And I was not okay with that. And that's that comfort level is different for everybody and what they're willing to tolerate or not tolerate, right? But I'm noticing that there's a few things here that were like a consensus, like a takeaway. One is that everybody I spoke to, all these men, all felt that Instagram is ruining relationships. They all felt that way. And Instagram is the fucking new dating app. Let's just be real here. Instagram is a dating app. Okay? So they all felt that it's ruining relationships. They also had a lot of kinks. So all these men are watching porn, and a lot of these kinks are coming from porn, obviously. And porn is the number one fastest growing addiction in North America. That's wild, yo. The number one fastest growing addiction. And we are a society of addicts. Social media, all of this have made us addicted to things. These algorithms, they know what to do. TikTok, everything. These videos are getting shorter. They say 8 seconds now is all it takes. People are flipping channels. They can't find anything on TV, on Netflix with all the options available to them. Addiction is growing wildly. It's so crazy to me. And I feel like people's expectations in the bedroom are also changing. And, a lot of people feel that social media and porn is the demise of so many relationships right now in society. Watching porn, I remember my ex told me that his father told him when he was young that he shouldn't watch porn because it would desensitize him to sex. I thought that was super interesting. But fuck, it's true. It absolutely increases the stimuli for both partners. And I know men and women who watch it for different reasons. There are some people who fully and heavily rely on it to be intimate with their partners. There's people who watch it alone. There are people I know who would rather watch porn than be with their wives. I can't even imagine that. Oh my gosh. So, I want to talk about a few different things here. First off, one of the things that comes up when I'm talking to a lot of people and that I meet, because obviously I'm a talker and I love getting into these conversations, these deep conversations to see how people think. Does it matter to you if the person you're dating has a colorful past? Is that something you can get over? Can you leave that in the past? So if they have had more partners than you, let's talk about threesomes, open relationships, swingers, recording, bondage. Does that stuff bother you in general? because I've been exposed to this stuff, and I would say I'm more on like the conservative side to all of this compared to my peers. So does that bother you? I feel like the men that I've dated, because a lot of them are high profile men, I feel like their number naturally is higher because of the amount of women they have access to, simply put. And because I was in a relationship for 15 years, like literally locked down, I obviously didn't have the same exposure in my youth because I was with someone from 19 to 34. I wasn't dating around. I wasn't experiencing the things that my peers were. So I didn't get to experience multiple sexual partners, which I think was great. I mean, it sucks now being my age and dating because I'm doing the things, as my mom said, that my peers did in their 20s. But it also kept me from being a hoe because I was in a relationship. So would it bother you if the person that you're dating, that you're falling in love with, that you love, had a colorful past? I don't love it, but it's something I've had to learn to accept. I feel like men usually have more partners or more experience than women. Usually. Not always, but usually. But like, would that bother you? Does it bother you if like the person couldn't even give you a number because they had been with so many people? To me, like my body is sacred. And I, again, don't feel like everyone deserves to have access to it. And I remember when I was young, my mom said to me, you know, she raised us to have a lot of like confidence and self-worth and self-pride. And she always said like she could do all the work and all it would take is one man to ruin that. And she said, be careful and mindful of who you give yourself to, because most men will just want to do that. But keep in mind that most men don't want to marry that. And they want to have a woman who respects herself. And when they go out, not every man has run through her. So, yeah, I mean, it's something that I've grown to accept. I don't like it, but I've grown to accept that the majority of men that I date are naturally going to have a higher body count than me. Okay? What about like porn? Like, do you watch porn? Are you okay with porn? How do you feel about your partner watching porn? And like, would you watch porn together? Whether you watch it solo or you have not watched it before, would you consider watching it? Because some people will watch it solo, but they don't want to see their partner's dick get hard off someone else. Right? And like, how would you feel if your partner needed to watch porn to get into the mood? Because that's another thing. I've talked to some couples and they're like, I need to watch that to get in the mood. How would you feel about that? Do you consider porn to be cheating? There's a lot of people who will consider looking at another naked human and getting aroused sexually is cheating. There's a lot of beliefs on this. Do you think that porn and strip clubs are the same thing? Where do you stand on that? So I've never seen male strippers in my life. I honestly have no interest. We kind of like joked about it and thought about doing it for my 40th. It obviously like never happened. And I know like so many of my friends are like, oh my gosh, we want to take you to do this and take you to do that, because everyone is shocked how I've done like nothing in my life. Like I'm a fucking nun/angel over here. And so I just don't have an interest in going to a strip club, honestly. I don't think it would do anything for me. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of like energy, money, all of that stuff. Probably would be some good laughs and a good time, not gonna lie. But like, it's just nothing I feel like I need to experience. But like, I feel like men do it to get turned on, right? But I also think it's like a social club for men. Like I remember when my sister's boyfriend had to go to a strip club and he was nearly in tears when we were like, they were young. Fuck, I don't even know how young. Like he had to be like 20 around there. I can't even remember. But all the guys were going and he didn't want to go, but he didn't want to not go and not be part of. And my sister's like, just go. And she like tapped him on the back and sent him on his way, right? Like a proud little girlfriend, knowing he'd come home to her. But like, it's weird that men go to like nightclubs and strip clubs to hang out and drink and not even pick up. Like, I cringe. I think it's so slimy, those places. Like, could you please dip yourself in fucking CLR and maybe even like bleach before you come near me again? Like, it's just so gross to me. Like, it gives me the ick to think about like the person that I'm dating going to any of those places when we're trying to build something and you're committed to me. And I think that's because I associate those things with single people, maybe. And that's maybe because I tend to be more conservative. And I throw people for a loop on this because I think because of the way I look and like I dance, like I do pole dance and burlesque and twerk and all these things, But I'm really conservative in my relationships and like traditional in my rules when it comes to relationships. I also like grew up in a religious home and I'm like a woman of faith and I'm attracted to like God-fearing men, like godly men of God. Yes. Like I like that shit. Like have something you believe in. So where do you guys sit on that though? And like social media, like so many people will say that social media is like porn because you're looking at half naked girls. I remember there was this guy I was dating and I'm not sure how the algorithms work, sorry. But like they showed up in my explore page, like my For You page. And I clicked on like these girls and they were all from the city where he was from. And they're like going up a set of stairs at a nightclub and you can see their ass in the bottom of their outfit. And he likes the photo. And they look so fake and done up in the face. And like so much Botox, so much filler, fake lashes, fake nails. Like these girls don't look like me. And so I'm just like, how could you like me and you're dating me, but you're liking these girls' posts? And it gave me such an ick. And when I started dating guys and like being really interested in them and like things starting to get more serious, I stopped liking guys' posts because like if you're half naked, if you're working out, if you're away and you're like in your trunks, like your swim shorts, I shouldn't be liking your stuff because like I wouldn't want my guy that I'm dating to like other women's stuff like that. So like, do you think social media is kind of like porn, like soft porn with half naked posts? Because like, how do you feel if the person that you're dating is liking those things and you see them? Is that okay with you? Do you still like people's things like that? Does that align with you in a relationship, right? And like, let's get into sexual obligation because as I mentioned earlier, everybody's got kinks now, which definitely come from porn. And these were things that I was exposed to newly dating. It was like a different kind of sex than the sex I had had for 15 years in the past. And there's like different things that people are into now. I personally would say like choking. Let's just put it out there. That was like never a thing in my generation. And like choking now is like everywhere. And every guy does it. And it's such like a dom thing. It's all about dominance, right? So do you feel an obligation sexually to please your partner? Let's first start there. Because I feel like in a relationship, one of the people are going to have a higher sex drive. Usually the man, but not always. Because like women in their 40s will have a higher sex drive than some of these, men. Because we're in our prime, in our 40s, right? So do you feel an obligation to please your partner sexually? Whether that's frequency of how often or the type of things you're doing in a bedroom, right? Are you open to doing things that are out of the norm, I guess? And like, let's talk about like taking one for the team. This comes up in my group of girls often. Like, a lot of my friends don't fool around with their partner during the time of the month, on that week or 5 days, however long you have your period. So how do you feel about that? There's like a few of my friends, I'll use it as an example. The guy will still want to fool around, and he'll expect, say, oral sex, but she doesn't want to do that. And she doesn't understand how he can't wait for that week to pass. But he can't understand why she wouldn't still want to please him, because a week is a long time for him. Right? Or like you have a yeast infection or a UTI. So you might not feel like in the mood. And again, this is now a different friend I'm thinking of. And, she had a long bout of like a really bad yeast infection. And so she wasn't feeling her sexiest self. She wasn't in the mood. She didn't want to send her man like pics of herself when they weren't together. They obviously couldn't have intercourse because she was being treated for the yeast infection. So do you feel an obligation to still please your partner sexually at certain times of the month? Whether you're tired, whether something's going on, whether you have your period. I remember when I was young, there was a saying, what you won't do, another woman will. So like, take care of your man, And that has always stayed in the back of my head. I was like, fuck me. And like, I get that. And I do want to take care of my man, and I want to treat him like a king and all of those things. But then you shouldn't, and also like feel like there's a fear there that if you don't do it, someone is going to cheat. If you don't fuck them this one time, or if you don't take care of them this one time, that they're going to cheat on you, right? It shouldn't be that easy. And then you think about how it's not your job to protect your man from other women. It's your man to put boundaries up and to respect himself and respect you, right? But do you feel an obligation as a partner to your partner to keep them sexually satisfied, or so that they don't cheat, or so that they don't watch porn, or go to social media and look at half-naked women? Like, do you think keeping your partner happy and satisfied and pleased in your bedroom, like, deters them or keeps them away from doing the things that the majority of society is doing right now? It's interesting, because I talk to all of my friends, and we seem to all feel differently on all of this. And all of us are having more or less sex, depending on where we are at age and where we are in our relationships and what we're open to, what we're not open to. You can't teach a dog old tricks. There's a lot of people that in relationships long-term that have been having the same damn kind of sex for 10, 15 years, 20 years. Same position. They get started the same way. They end the same way. I always try my best to keep things spicy, and I think that's just my personality. Me as Natalie, me as an Aries. Whether it's like buying like a pajama or like a nightie, my dance heels, whatever it is, serving food a certain way, different areas, different spots, being spontaneous, with my partners, like there's a friend of mine, and he loves doing spontaneous sex, like after a date, having sex in the car. He thinks that's really sexy. And there's a lot of women who won't do that, even if you have like a beautiful house together in a bed. And then I've got another friend who will regularly go and get hotel rooms because that's their form of a date. They like to change the atmosphere and the scenery to get out of their house. And so they get a hotel room and they have a date night and they fuck in the hotel room. So it's really interesting, like the things that we create in our relationship to keep things like spicy or to keep us interested in each other. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure on women in general. And I don't know if men suffer from the same pressures. I definitely don't think they do as far as like looks and aging, because I think men are looked at when they're aging and getting older as like distinguished and wiser and sexy, right? Like I'm thinking George Clooney, like salt and pepper hair and like middle age. And I'm just thinking that women, we don't have that on our side because society says that like youth is more beautiful, right? And that more is better. That's North American society. So, right? Like why have one woman why have one woman when you can have two, right? But yeah, I mean it's interesting to know. I'm open to things, and then there's things that I'm not open to, obviously, and it's just been interesting to date to see people's their kinks, their past, what they're into, whether, like I said, it's threesomes, porn, bondage. Can you even align on that stuff, right? And then it can just be very like vanilla cookie cutter stuff, and maybe you just can't get over that they've been with over 100 people and you're just another one on their belt, you know? So I'm going to leave this off by saying that I believe that like couples who pray together and sleep together stay together. And it's something that I aspire to have in my relationships with like the person that I'm with seriously and like long-term committed to. You know, I like having something bigger than us to believe in and to bond us and unite us together in our union. Sleeping together is something that I think is really important. I've been in relationships where we go to bed at different times and there's not that connection at night, even if it's like there's some research that says like 6 minutes of cuddling every night makes couples closer and reduces stress. And so like going to sleep together, I think is important. Praying together, I think that it increases your intimacy and your closeness, just having that time together to bond. So, you know, whatever your ideal person looks like, be true to yourself. Think about what you want, what makes you happy, what fills your cup. Life is short. You don't need to be with somebody. You can be alone. But really think about what you want and what you want in a partner. And I'd love to know what you guys think about, you know, these sexual modern expectations in the bedroom. Because it's something definitely new for me. I'm not going to lie. And it's interesting talking with all of my girls about this and where we all kind of land on it, because everyone is so different with this. But thanks for being here with me today, guys, as normal. I hope that we didn't get too deep today with the conversation. Hopefully you can relate. I'm sure you guys have had these conversations with your girls as well, but please chime in on social media or in the comments below, and we'll see you next time. Bye. That's a wrap. Consider this episode officially tied with a bow. Thanks for hanging out today as we got real, raw, and unfiltered about life, womanhood, and everything in between. If this episode hit home for you, tap those stars, subscribe, and make sure you don't miss the next one. Remember, we're here for real conversations and raw connections. So don't stop here. Come find me on Instagram @TheRealNat and say, hey, loved this episode? Share it and tag me. I love seeing what resonates with you, and it helps me keep the free content coming. Until next time, on the podcast that always feels like home.